On July 27th, the year 2022, the Federal Reserve of the United States raised the key policy interest rate. What does it mean and why should you care? I am Professor of Economics and this is my channel, Bare Basics Economics. And in this video you will learn why the decision of the Federal Reserve is not enough, why the Fed will fail to control inflation and inflation will continue for months to come. In July of 2022, all major central banks raised their policy rates. First, the Bank of Canada raised its policy rate by 1%. Then the European Central Bank raised its rate by 0.5%. Then the US Federal Reserve raised its rate by 0.75%. Central banks raise interest rates to fight inflation. Is it working? No. Inflation remains high, record high, so that actions of the central banks are not working, not yet. Why not? Why do central banks fail to control inflation? In the news, we hear that this central bank increased the policy rate by this much, which is the highest in this many years. But what about the policy rate themselves? For example, in Europe, yes, European Central Bank increased its policy rate by 0.5%. The European policy rate is called the interest rate on main refinancing operations, and now it's 0.5%. So help me here, 0.5% minus 0.5% equals 0. It's 0%. In Europe, up until recently, money was free to borrow. Is that surprising that Europe has all-time high inflation? You make money free to borrow, you get high inflation. And in the United States, the policy rate was not 0. It was 1.75%. And on July 27th, the Fed increased it from 1.75% to 2.5%. Big deal. In the US and in Europe, money is still cheap. It's still cheap to borrow. When inflation is so high, interest rates are too low. And such low interest rates can't put an end to inflation, which means that inflation will continue and prices will keep rising. And why are policy rates so low? Inflation started in January 2021, and for more than a year, central banks did nothing. The European Central Bank did nothing, and the US Federal Reserve did nothing to control inflation. In 2021, Jerome Powell was too busy. He was too busy getting reappointed for his position as a chair of the Federal Reserve. And he got it. He got the job. In 2021, Jerome Powell was too busy pleasing Biden. He didn't have time to manage the economy. And only in March 2022, Jerome Powell woke up and he started increasing the policy rate little by little. But it's too little, too late. Inflation is already high, and right now the US economy is entering a recession, which means that now Jerome Powell cannot do anything. He missed his chance to put inflation under control, and he can't fix the economy. So from now on, Jerome Powell will just enjoy the show and watch the train wreck. Inflation will continue for how long?
As long as it takes.
As long as it takes for the Biden administration to fulfill its political agenda. So, long time. That was my video on the latest decision of the Federal Reserve. If you agree with me, put a like. If you disagree, put a dislike. And in my next video you will learn why the decision of the Federal Reserve will bring about a global recession, a global economic meltdown. So stay tuned for more videos.